Namaste, and welcome to the Fourth Niyama. In this podcast, we explore the vast subject of Iyengar Yoga with senior Iyengar Yoga teachers who are direct disciples of Yogacharya BKS Iyengar. The 5 Niyamas were outlined by Sage Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, a book he wrote 2000 years ago in Sanskrit. It is also known as Bible of Yoga. The fourth Niyama is Svadhyaya. It is a Sanskrit word which means the study of self. The study of self which leads to discovery of self. A student of yoga should continuously observe themselves in their yoga practice, reflect on it, re-examine their thoughts and actions in order to grow, reduce the tendency to go wrong, and retain the balance of mind. Yogacharya BKS Iyengar said, "The person practicing Svadhyaya reads his own book of life at the same time that he writes and revises it." May the insights and experiences shared in this podcast by senior direct disciples of Guruji BKS Iyengar be an inspiration for you in your own study and discovery of self. My name is Katerina Ferdyuk. I'm an Iyengar Yoga student, and today I'm very happy and honored to talk to Firooza Ali Razvi. Firooza Ali Razvi is a senior Iyengar Yoga teacher from Mumbai. She has been studying with Yogacharya BKS Iyengar since 1977. Firooza was in her early 20s when she started her yoga journey with her first yoga teacher, Father Joe Pereira. Father Joe later became a medium between Guruji and Firooza and introduced her to BKS Iyengar. Firooza shares how yoga has taught her to live with honesty, how it has helped her develop a stronger personality, gain the courage to face any challenge, break out of her shell, and not care much about what the world thinks of her. Firooza is also a Master of Arts in Philosophy, and she has been teaching philosophy to undergraduates.
But I can tell you that in the field of yoga, I have seen people more flexible than BKS Iyengar, but I have not seen anybody more graceful than BKS Iyengar. Let me tell you, I met him when he was 60 years old. When you are ready for higher learning, you will find the opportunity to go to the right teacher. But when you are not ready and you keep hunting for teachers, because of modern circumstances, you may be admitted to a class by a teacher, you may get the teacher, but you will still not learn.
How should a student of yoga think of progress in yoga practice? When should a yoga student look for a new teacher? How can a student of yoga find the balance between knowing the philosophical aspect of yoga and doing the practice of yoga? These questions and more will be addressed in today's episode with Firooza. Firooza currently teaches at Iyengar Yogashraya in Mumbai and conducts workshops globally and in India. Now, let me welcome Firooza Ali Razvi. Firooza, thank you for joining me today for this interview. I'm very excited and honored to discuss your experience and your yoga journey. I usually start by asking teachers about their initial steps in yoga. I heard you share in one of the interviews that yoga naturally came into your life, as if you were destined for it. You did not seek a particular outcome, but instead focused on the action and your practice. In your opinion, was this the key to your growth as a practitioner and teacher?
When I started with yoga, I didn't know what it is to be a practitioner, least of all what it is to be a teacher. So there was no intention to be a teacher, absolutely. And to be a yoga practitioner for a long term was not at all the goal. It was just an exploration and more out of fun because I was still in the end of my teens. And there was no purpose in life, or I didn't have any goal. And even if I was looking for goals in life, it would be to find some kind of a profession, earn some money, settle in, those kind of normal things which a normal 18-year-old girl would be having. So there was absolutely zero intention as far as yoga is concerned. So I came across it, and I should consider myself very fortunate that I took to it. It could have come to me and it could have passed by and I would have missed it and I would be living some other kind of life. But when it came to me, I somehow got instigated sufficiently to take to it. And then once I took to it, I stayed with it. various reasons for staying with it. One is that probably I was little inclined to the physicality that it offered. It made me feel good. The stretches made me feel good. And I always liked dance. In fact, I wanted to learn dance at some point of time in life. So I liked rhythm, I liked grace, I liked movement. I, I was a reasonably good artist, as in, sketching and painting. So I was artistically inclined, and I think the physical aspect of yoga kind of made me feel good. And then, of course, when I saw BKS Iyengar and his books and illustrations, then the art factor came up to me in a huge way. And I found it very graceful, very beautiful, very artistic. So that was one more reason to continue. And then, of course, the teachers. I guess the major, most important reason, the teachers. And it could be any, I have learned some kind of dance sometime or the other in life, but I didn't stick on to it. I didn't stick on to it because there was not enough motivation as there was here because of the teachers. The dynamism of, so my first teacher was Father Joe Pereira, and then he introduced me to BKS Iyengar. So had my first teacher not been dynamic enough to help me to hang on, the second stage would not have occurred. So the first stage, my gratitude to my first teacher, to introduce me to BKS Iyengar. And then the gratitude to BKS Iyengar to teach me the way he did. If he didn't teach me the way he did, maybe my path would have been different. So somewhere his dynamism along with his strictness and a little overwhelming personality, I think it just suited me. I probably needed something that like that in life because I was on an easy, laid back journey with drifting in life with nothing in particular. So I think I needed a little bit of an iron hand, a little bit of a strong direction, and my teachers gave that to me. So that was one major reason why I stuck on. The subject was unknown to me. Honestly, for the first 2 years, or even 3, all I knew was that yoga is about doing some asanas and some breathing exercises, which we call pranayam. I had absolutely no background of the philosophy. I mean, being an Indian, you have heard about the subject, but had not read anything. In fact, my father was my father used to be very curious about many subjects in life. And he very clearly told me that this is not yoga. What you're doing is not yoga. Yoga is something very lofty. It's to do with the state of the mind. It's about meditation. That is called Raja Yoga. What you are doing is very low level. So I understood that from him. However, I didn't stop because I said, well, whatever he says, it may be low for him, but for me, it's great. So why should I give it up? So that's how I went on. And so I knew that there was something more to what I was doing at that point of time. But I was happy with what I was doing. And I was happy to go to another teacher or learn something quickly. But what I did do was, out of curiosity, get hold of a few books. Since I was also a university student, I had access to the libraries. Those days, there was no internet or no Google. So libraries were the only source. So I used to go to the library and look up books on yoga. And so there my own, like a little bit of inquiry led me to the theoretical aspect, that it's a philosophy, and so on and so forth. So there were two parallel journeys. One is what I did with my teacher in class, and side by side, my inclination to understand the subject from a different point of view. So that little, I wouldn't say I did a very intense study. I would just, pick up different books and fleetingly read through them, not necessarily study them in a scholarly manner, not at all. In fact, I just wanted information from here, there. So whether it was Vivekanand, Ramakrishna Paramhams, like different books on philosophy, history of philosophy, Western philosophy, Indian philosophy, yoga, tantra, kundalini, everything that I could lay, hatha yoga, all that I could lay my hands on. And if Guruji mentioned one text in the class, like Geranda Samhita says this, then I would immediately want to look up what is that book. So, and fortunately, I could lay my hands on these books because of the access to the university library. Any ordinary library wouldn't have given me that access. So, because I was university student, I had access to the library. I could spend some time looking up books. And whenever I found an interesting book, I realized that nobody had touched that book for 15, 20 years, perhaps, because there are so many books which nobody really reads, and I was the one after so long, oh my god, it's such an old book. So that's how it was amusing, it was fun. I was in my 20s, so yeah.
What is your advice to a student who has been practicing physical yoga, focusing solely on the physical actions of the body, and perhaps has just begun taking their first steps in discovering a deeper, more philosophical aspect of the subject? How can they find the balance between knowing and doing? And what role does knowing play in yoga practice?
Okay, so knowing definitely has a role, no doubt. But if your knowing cannot connect to your doing, then you will have a dichotomy. You'll have two different subjects. And I have known a few students who could not connect the two. Okay? For example, since I used to be a lecturer as well, and I had connection with other lecturers and professors who taught philosophy as a subject. Very few of them had any exposure to the doing aspect of yoga.
Mm.
They knew a lot. They had read the texts. I knew professors of Sanskrit who would be familiar with most of the texts. If they read the text, they would understand what the text is saying. So they could understand the philosophical aspect because they knew the language. They could probably also teach it to their students, but they had zero practical experience. So there was just no relationship. So the book and the learning and the knowing was only here in the head. It was some knowledge which was stored in your head, and you knew what yoga is about. You know the different aspects of yoga, the different types of yoga, the different stages of yoga, and the different philosophical aspects, whether it's ontology, epistemology, cosmology. You know everything theoretically, but how does that relate to your life? Not really, nothing at all. It was just a subject to be taught. I mean, I did not see that their lives were yogic in any way. I did not see that they were healthy, even physically, or not necessarily mentally. At the same time, there was a time when Guruji had told me that now you should do some research. So I said, what should I research in? He said, make a comparative study of Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Hatha Yoga and Raj Yoga or Patanjali Yoga. Do some research. And I had actually thought I will do it. But I found that most of the professors I approached then were not really interested. It's like there is nothing to research. Hatha yoga is just a physical, aspect of yogic practice. It's such a small text. So there's nothing much to research about that. They were not able to see the relationship between these two. Finally, I did have one professor who kindly accepted. Unfortunately, in my teaching assignments, whether it was teaching at the college or yoga teaching, I did not take it seriously and it just went by. So I didn't do it, in short. But I did not find any academic person interested in the topic, which Guruji thought was a very interesting topic. So that shows the difference. Guruji did not have degrees. He did not have a master's or even a bachelor's degree in philosophy for that matter. He not even been to college as a student. But I found that he was a yogi. His lifestyle, okay, he may not be knowing the texts the way these scholarly people did. I didn't know at that time how much he had read or, whether he had read at all or not. And I used to that time think only Prashantji read more than Guruji. In my little head, that was how I looked at it. But I then knew that Guruji also read, but it was different, right? It was not like a professor or like a scholar. So his teachings were never ever like an academician. And since I was in the academic field, I could clearly see the difference. And the teaching of BKS Iyengar and a classroom teaching. And I did realize that I know a lot of scholars who have studied the texts in huge ways. I mean, I know of them, maybe not so personally, or whatever I could know of them, I thought that there was nothing yogic about them. Whereas Guruji, who was not educated formally in the subject, was very much a yogi in so many ways. And not only because I thought so, if I took a checklist of, what are the qualities of a good yogi, BKS Iyengar fitted that. His lifestyle, his thinking, his personality, his evolution, the kind of person he was. Everything was very yogic about him. His ethics, values, the way he interacted with people, the way he stood for what was right, and the way he had the fire to stand for what was right and not worry about what the world said. There was no fear of that you have to comply with what the world thinks. So he was a bit of an out of the box person, which is why I loved him, because I'm not myself fitting into any box. I don't care to fit into box or in the social structure. And BKS Iyengar in many ways did not fit into the social structure of the world of yoga the way it was then. He carved his own path. He set up his own ways, and he didn't care less. He may not have the educational background, or he did not have the backing of a guru to support him all throughout, except in the initial stages. He neither had the financial support, but he had the guts to follow what his gut told him. Something inside him told him, this is the way, this is the path, I've chosen this, and I'm going to follow it with all sincerity. You need a lot of guts for that.
Sure.
You need a lot of courage for that. I didn't see too many people in the world having that kind of courage. I didn't see too many people in the world having the courage to call a spade and not, wrap it in, good words or, be diplomatic for your own benefit, praise someone. He met the grandest of people in life, but he didn't kind of, want to use them to his advantage by kind of being nice to them so that they will in turn be nice to him. I mean, he was what he was, and he always put across the truth, which is why very often he was not liked by many people also, right? So he had a bad reputation there, unfortunately. Fiery man, fierce man, aggressive man, whatever the world liked to call him. But we as students saw all sides of him, so we knew the truth. So yes, he could be very fierce. He could be extremely fiery. I mean, you couldn't stand the heat if you were next to him. You'd melt. He was so fiery. But at the same time, underlying that fire, there was compassion, there was love, there was concern, there was care, and there was joy. He was a man who loved to live life king size. Outside the classroom, he was full of laughter, full of joy, full of fun. He could connect to a 10-year-old or a 20-year-old or an 80-year-old. And in fact, when my children were little, I don't think they thought of him as some old man. They could connect to him as well. At the age of 4 and 5, they connected to him beautifully. They thought he was fun, he was dynamic, they looked forward to meeting him, and they thought, they didn't actually play with him, but they were not scared of him in any way as other people might. They were not in awe of him either. So for them, he could connect to that level, their level. For us, he was at our level. So he molded himself to different students. I'm sure all over the world, when he went to the Western world, he was with them what they wanted him, or what he should be with them, not what they wanted, but what he should be with them. So he had all these facets of being able to mold. The flexibility was not only in his body. There was a hugely flexible mind. At the same time, that hugely flexible mind was not without a certain framework of standards, which were not compromised. See, if you are very flexible, you can just, be like a rolling stone. You can just keep rolling. He didn't have that kind of a flexibility. He was very adaptive, and that is why he was ahead of times. He was much ahead of his time, actually. The way he thought, especially in the subject of yoga, Nobody thought like that. Everything was very traditional and classical, and he opened out a huge modern way of looking at the subject, which is why he became so very, very popular. And it was like a huge thing internationally, right? Iyengar Yoga was a huge boom at one point of time. Now it is subsiding because there are so many other so-called yoga schools coming up, but they hold no candle to BKS Iyengar. So what the sparks that he has created, they are going to remain for a long, 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 long time. And that was because he was ahead of time. He had a new approach, a modern way of projecting the subject to the world, enticing people. Can you imagine a subject like yoga, which we Indians had hardly heard about? Nobody was interested to learn. He made it so fascinating that millions all over the world just wanted to learn it. They did not want to learn the subject because of yoga. They wanted to learn yoga because of BKS Iyengar. Let's face the truth. That is why. So that's why after BKS Iyengar, a lot of people are lost because they don't know the subject. So that's why you asked physical and the philosophical. So the physical remains because that is what fired them, which was the most obvious thing about BKS Iyengar. You see him, you see his, and he was blessed. I don't know, he was a sickly child, malnourished, malformed body. But when I saw him, he had the most beautiful structure. The grace that exuded from him when he did his asanas. There are so many very flexible people in the world, even today. There are dancers with immense amount of grace, fantastic in their own field of dance. All that is there. But in the field of yoga, though there is so much on social media today, but I can tell you that in the field of yoga, I have seen people more flexible than BKS Iyengar, but I've not seen anybody more graceful than BKS Iyengar. Let me tell you, I met him when he was 60 years old. So he was not having the grace of a young man. He was already a senior citizen, but I have seen the grace of a 60 plus young man. And I've not seen any young people having that kind of a grace. At least I have not seen.
That sounds marvelous. Usha Devi often recalls that when she was observing him in his practice or generally, like she could literally see it glow in his skin, that it was glowing and it was like a baby skin,
Yes,
even
absolutely.
in his late years.
Glow in his skin and in his eyes. It was not easy to meet the eyes of BKS Iyengar. Not many people could look him in the eyes. He had too much magnetic power, and most people were afraid. And if he came directly and looked at you, then it was like either people were taken aback or they just shifted their eyes or they looked down. So it was difficult to meet his gaze. But when he was practicing, then you could, so that's what he did. When he used to practice, he used to steal glances because he practiced openly in that hall at Vimy, and he never practiced in private once the institute was built. Well, he may be doing something at home, but he had a daily practice, and in the hall. And everybody who was there to learn full time would also come and set out their mats and practice. But I can tell you that most of us were only partly in our practices, and somewhere we would steal glances to look at what he was doing. Okay, and a lot of people tried to copy him, and he was very amused and used to laugh at, like, what are you doing? That kind of a thing. But that's the only way we knew those days. Youngsters, particularly, who are naive, the only way of learning is to imitate, to start with. And then things may start opening out for you. So the imitations were attempted, but no one could be anywhere close to him, really. And I must, with apologies, say this, that neither Gitaji nor Prashantji, nobody has matched him. I mean, they are great in their own way. I'm not denying that. Gitaji had a great presence, and she had also grace, presentation, everything. Prashantji also in those days. But with great apologies, nobody like BKS Iyengar. Maybe I'm biased, but this is the way I believe.
Wow. I was just wondering generally if a guru of such a supreme caliber would ever be in this planet again.
Not often you get gurus like that. If you know one such person in your entire lifetime, you are blessed. You are very fortunate. That is why I believe that I am just very blessed. I was destined to meet him. I had absolutely no intention of even finding a guru in my life. I don't come from a cultural background where having a guru or a family full guru, as is called, a family guru, is almost also normal. I come from a very Persian background. I'm not from originally Indian background. Indian culture, Hindu culture is what I've grown up with, but not the religion. And I never ever wanted to look for a guru in my life. It didn't mean anything to me in my childhood or in my teenage days. So these are all discoveries for me on the path of my life. So I do believe that I was very much destined for it. And I must have done something good in my past life to have met first Father Joe, who became the medium for me to meet BKS Iyengar. And then through Guruji, Geetaji, Prashantji, who have been hugely contributed to my learning. Because not everything comes from only one place. Not all of there can be a great reservoir, but I may not be able to drink from it directly. Okay, but I may have to drink from a stream which goes out of that main. So there is a main pool, but I may have to drink from a rivulet that goes from it, because that is what helps me, nourishes me more than diving into this. So some from the original source, but much came from the other sources like Geetaji and Prashantji. So I consider myself very fortunate that I came across that in my life. And yeah, we don't know when another such guru will. There may be many in this world, but whether we will come across them is a different matter.
So you mentioned that you were starting your journey with Iyengar Yoga with Father Joe. I also feel very fortunate that I was able to meet him last year for the first time in Poland. He came to give a
Yes.
workshop. It was such an amazing and
Yeah, he's
mind-blowing
a very dynamic
experience.
mind. Yes. He's also very dedicated, very motivated, very energetic even now, for
Yeah.
his age and his journey. And he has stuck to his dedication to what he has got from BKS Iyengar, from Guruji. And he has molded that in the work that he's doing now for the world, okay, about substance abuse and de-addiction and things like that. So he's a very dynamic mind.
My question is, Father Joe was a mediator between you and Guruji. We could say that you moved from Father Joe to Guruji. What could be your guidance to a student on moving from one teacher to another? What is the appropriate time?
Nowadays students decide, that okay, like you go shopping, like you have 5 brands. Now which brand should I buy my shoes from, or which brand should I buy my clothes from? So you have a choice like that. And these days the students look for teachers in the same manner. You have XYZ available to you. How can I contact this one, that one? Learned a little from this, learned a little from that. So that is not a good way. That was not the traditional way either. So in my case, the shift happened not out of my choice. My teacher decided when it was time for me to shift to the next guru. I was sent. I didn't say I want to go. Here lies the biggest difference. So when the time is right to move to some other source for more learning, of course, I'm not saying that you should not go. When the time is right, there will be some signs, some indications will be there. Your lifestyle, circumstances, something in your life will lead you there. So it's not that you are looking for it, but you will be led. When you are led to it, that is the correct time. Not when I want, but when it comes to me. Patience is very important. Today, it's so easy to have 5 teachers, 5 days a week, 5 teachers learning from, and then you have a checklist. I'm learning from X, Y, Z, all the top teachers of Iyengar Yoga. So you think it's a qualification. Well, we never thought of it as a qualification at all. To be learning from BKS Iyengar was not considered as a qualification by me, because the thinking process was very different. It was much later than when people used to tell me, oh, you learned directly from BKS Iyengar. That's when I understood the value. Oh, yeah, yes, I've learned directly from BKS Iyengar. It started making sense to me The thought was given to me by other people that, okay, I'm the direct disciple. See, so by that time, many years had passed, and then there were other teachers, students of BKS, and then students of students. So you have 2, 3 generations. At that time, learning from the top man became very valuable. But when there were no below, then learning from the top man was just normal. It was nothing special. So it's a perspective, actually. It's so, let me put it that way. When you are ready for higher learning, you will find the opportunity to go to the right teacher. But when you're not ready and you keep hunting for teachers, because of modern circumstances, you may be admitted to a class by a teacher, you may get the teacher, but you will still not learn. Understanding?
Yes.
The
yes.
knowledge is there at your feet, but you don't have the capacity to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the point? There should be a hotline between you and the teacher. Then the connection, when the connection is good, the information passes quickly. But even if the teacher is next to me, but there is a barrier and no hotline, how does the transformation happen? Transformation doesn't happen. 100 people may be learning from the same teacher, maybe in a classroom, but not all of them receive everything the same way. But only those who have established a hotline will receive quickly. It doesn't mean that the teacher is teaching that person more or paying more attention to X student. The teacher is teaching the same thing to everyone. X learned, Y did not learn. So the maturity, time factor, your readiness, so many factors matter. So when the time is right, you move to a higher teacher. To be honest, I did often think of that, because when I used to read books, then I used to say, I must explore, the teachings of Ramakrishna Paramhans or Ramana Maharshi, or, there is this other school of yoga, like Bihar school or
Mm-hmm.
whatever I could know in those days. And I thought that, I should explore. And somebody would be praising that I have learned from that one, and that is fantastic. Obviously, everybody thinks that whatever they have learned and their teacher is fantastic. Nothing wrong. It's good. But as an immature student, it would slightly tinkle the desire in me that I should also go and learn. Yeah, the ego. Yeah, you can call it everything. Everything is ego eventually. The desire is also ego only. So I had a thought that I should learn from this person. Why should I not learn from this person? Who knows, this person, this teacher there may have something more to offer than BKS Iyengar. How do I decide that Guruji knows everything? Maybe he doesn't know anything. Maybe somebody else will be able to tell me more. So I am not denying that those thoughts came in my mind. Those thoughts did come in my mind. And I think it's healthy that they would come in. It should come in anybody's mind. If you are exploring, you should not be a closed book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are books as sources of information, and people as sources of information, and places as sources of information. In my case, I did seek information through books, but I never ended up going elsewhere. Something in me stopped me from doing that. So even if I thought about it, it never materialized. So I never went to another guru, another teacher to learn. At that time, I might have even thought that, oh, I wish I could have gone. I wish I could learn from this one. I wish I could, attend that, meditation camp or whatever was being, available in terms of information. At the end of it, whenever I would go back to Guruji, learn from him, there were no regrets. And I would somewhere in my heart feel that, no, this is right for me. This is right for me. I don't think I need to seek elsewhere. Whatever I deserve will come from here only. So I never drifted off. Thoughts will come, but I never drifted off. And whatever I wanted to know, I could find in books. So books also in Rimi, in the library, when I used to go to Pune, then I would also take out a lot of books from there and read. So different libraries offered me different informations. And then I started acquiring some books. When people found that I'm interested, they would gift me some books. And like that, I just got exposed to various thoughts. Somewhere deep in me, I was 99% sure. And once in a, most of the times 100% sure. And once in a while, 99% sure. This is the right place for me. This is the right teacher for me. And of course, then in his presence, see, we stayed away. We are in Mumbai. He was in Pune. There were times when we didn't meet for weeks together. He would come once in a week, so it was a weekly meeting. And then I started going to Pune. So maybe once in 3 months a visit to Pune. So there were times when we were away. The distance puts you away, and at that time the other thoughts start coming in your head. But when in his presence, all the doubts always cleared out. Like you have clouds over the sun, but in his presence, all the clouds always cleared out. So there was no reason to go anywhere else after that. Absolutely like the sun.
Your story is so relatable. Especially, I came across the same thought process of seeking, of maybe trying, not trying, but deep inside, call it inner voice, intuition, truth. I felt that there is no point for me to seek. I found it and I feel it, and it's not just blind devotion or faith. I could feel in practice through my own experience how Iyengar Yoga changes my mental state and physical state, and it's incredible.
I must tell you that actually my personality changed after I started with yoga. In my own perceptions, I was very shy, lacking in confidence, and quite introverted. And everything changed after I started with my yoga practices. So I developed a much stronger personality. So whatever Guruji had to offer in his personality, it rubbed off. The courage, the fearlessness, the courage to face every challenge, and also to come out of your shell. So I could make friends more easier, and not care about what the world thought so much. I wasn't like that then. So luckily I was still in my molding stages. I was not yet 20 when I started with Iyengar Yoga. So it was just the right time for me. So that my personality, according to me, it changed or developed for the better. I don't know what other people might have to say about me, but I think it was for the good.
And when did this breakthrough happen to you? Or when did you start noticing significant changes in?
I think in the very first year, I would say, I felt some changes happening, but definitely at the end of a couple of years, for sure. At the end of a couple of years, much had changed. Even by the time I met Guruji, I was quite changed. And then, of course, after meeting him, even furthermore. So there were a lot of changes in me as a person. And the dynamism which was in there, the dullness. Okay, so the three gunas become very apparent to you: the tamogun, the rajogun, the sattvagun. So a lot of the tamogun prevailed, which got eradicated, and the rajogun came up in a huge way, which I didn't know I had. Okay? And so there was that phase, and then that also mellowed down a little, and then the maturity, the silence, the serenity, all that came in later as the sattva guna, I would say. But inherently there were certain qualities. And I was told even by my parents, grandparents, that I was always a very serene and quiet child. So I must say that quality might have been there inherently, which was just allowed to come out later on. So once the confidence came in, the timidity went away and the hesitations went away. And I was confident of, that I can go out and do what I want with my life. As I was unclear at one point of time, I became very clear at another point of time as to what I want to do with my life. So then when all those things cleared away, then so maybe I might have been a little more aggressive at some point of time in the transition. But after that, it was right.
Balanced.
Though I must tell you that when we married, my husband didn't think I was at all shy or timid, which was my essential nature. He thought I was, like very much dominating and strong, which was what his impression was. And then slowly I had to tell him that, look, I have the other side to me also. So anyway, that's a lighter note. But when I was in school, nobody would have said that I was like that. So that over 10 years, a huge change in my personality.
I'm very curious to hear your opinion on how should a student think of a progress in yoga practice.
So I'll tell you, in my experience, Guruji never told us to read books. Okay, he didn't tell us as such. but he would be mentioning things in the class. And then there was those annual days where he would talk about the Yoga Sutras, and those kind of, we had these 4 in a year lectures from the stage. Otherwise, they were always practical classes. So I realized that whenever he spoke about those factors, when he spoke about the self, the Purusha, the Atman, about the higher states of yoga, it fascinated me a lot. Somehow, nothing fascinated me as much as those aspects of learning. So I feel that the progress for any student should be a search. What is it that interests you? What is it that fascinates you? So if it is the asanas which fascinate you, okay, no problem. But then can you dig deeper in the asana to understand it from various angles? So the performance aspect of how to correctly execute the pose so that you don't hurt yourself, and to find the balance, and then the science of it. Okay, so how it can be, what is the science behind the asana? What is the therapeutic aspects? How can you use it for yourself or others? So if you are interested in the physical part, you can go deeper into that aspect. Nothing wrong. Okay, but be honestly get into your learning. And then surely the doors will open up. So all I say is sincerity. Sincerity in your approach to, even if it means that, okay, every day I am practicing 10, 20 asanas at a very physical level. No problem. But the fact is that when you practice them at the physical level, they will start triggering chemistry in your brain. So you may be doing it at physical level, but the effects will not remain only physical. There will be some psychological changes, some mental changes, okay, and those themselves will lead you to more questioning about the subject. So at one point of time, you will be curious to know something more about the subject besides the knee or the back or the spine or the structure of the asana. So there will be a very natural evolution to your progress. And not everybody is inclined to everything. So that's okay. That's also fine. Whenever the time is right, it may happen. So you see, there are many stories where the disciples of a guru, a single guru can have various types of disciples. There is that man who only chops vegetables in the kitchen and he looks after everybody's food. There's the other one who is learning the scriptures and participating in debates with the other learned people. There is the other one who wants to do seva of Guru, follows the Guru everywhere around, catches his chappals, catches his umbrella, wants to be like him, look like him, dress like him, imitate him. And there is the other who may just express his love for Guru all the time, bow at his feet and says, how much I love you, how much I'm devoted to you, you are my God, very expressive. There is the other student who will never approach the Guru, but quietly from far offer all his love and devotion to Guru, seeking his blessings from far, choosing to keep that distance. There can be so many types of students. Everybody is not the same. But the guy who's chopping vegetables in the kitchen for 30 years, 40 years, for the longest time, why is he doing that? He does that, his seva, his offering to his Guru. You think he will not reach enlightenment? He will not reach some level of evolution? He will also be evolving. In the presence of the Guru, all different types of students will evolve. Okay? So it's not necessary that students are of one type only. So many different types of people, so many different types of personalities, so many different levels of evolution for all of us. Okay, according to my past, my karmas, that molds my life, my personality, my temperament, and I will manage to do accordingly. But let me be honest to what I am. Let me not pretend. Okay. So if I'm suitable to chop vegetables, I'll chop vegetables. The day the real time comes, something inside me will say, okay, no more chopping vegetables. Now I must do this because the time is right for that. That is the time when I must do it. So there is no one answer. How to evolve from asanas? I say just practice them diligently, sincerely. So it is not what you do that matters as much as what is your intention behind it. Am I doing my asanas to keep my spine healthy? Am I doing asanas to keep my body in good shape? Am I doing my asanas so that I can function better at my workplace and progress in my profession? Am I doing my asanas so that I can sleep better in the night? Am I doing my asana practice every day to what? To continue to be a good athlete, or to continue to be a good accountant, or to be a good musician, whatever it is, then my practice is only utilization of yoga for another goal, for a certain goal. Okay? It's my maintenance dose in life. Like every day I take a calcium, supplement, because doctor says now after 60 you should take some calcium supplement every day. Why am I taking the calcium supplement? I don't love calcium. Calcium so that my bones will not break. So if you practice your yoga for those reasons, every morning, every day, 1 hour, diligent religious practice, you are a very disciplined student, accepted, but the goal is so limited. So if you have no interest in progressing because you already have a very limited goal, where will be the progress? There's no question of progress. No? So your intention should be that, okay, this is my path. Through my body, I seek the universe. I can seek it through my eyes. I can seek it through my ears. I can seek it through my brain. I can seek it through my spine. I can seek it through my feet. You know the story, the yogis who stand for years on end on one leg. They seek to find truth through their feet. Balance, stand, and see what happens there. So, but sincerity has to be there. If I'm standing on one foot for 3 years to show off that, I am so powerful that I can achieve this feat with my name in the Guinness Book of Records, then there's no yoga in it. Then it's not yoga at all, right? So the way to progress is to just whatever you can understand, do it sincerely, and doors will open out. I don't have any other answers than that.
That's the most beautiful
there are
answer.
No answers. There are no fixed answers.
True.
Unlike the university, which will say, okay, 2 years at this level, and then you go to the next level. It doesn't work like that.
Not with yoga.
No.
Volition is definitely important, and it's the key. And what you just described is to be applied
your
on
purpose.
on
Your
anything that we do.
If your intention is clean from the heart, okay, then chopping vegetables is also yoga. There's a story of one guru who had so many followers, and this one fellow came to his ashram and he said, I want to, learn from you. He said, okay, take this guy and put him in the kitchen, let him, help you in the kitchen. And so Guru gave the command. And this fellow went into the kitchen and never came out of the kitchen because he worked sincerely morning till evening. There was no time for anything else. By the time he slept, it was time to wake up once again, start cleaning, chopping, and hundreds of people in the ashram. And he just went on and on and on for years. And he never had the time to go and ask the Guru that, okay, I came here to learn something from you. I didn't come here to chop vegetables in your kitchen. He never did that. And after some years, people asked him that, when did you come to this ashram? He said, I don't remember. Where did you come from? Where have you come from? Where do you belong? I don't remember. What is your name? I don't remember. He didn't remember anything. His personality was lost because he did what the Guru asked him. Guru said, chop vegetables. He chopped vegetables. Okay? The yoga was there. He was connected in head, heart, and in every way with his guru through the chopping of vegetables. He only knew the name of his guru, not his own name. His individuality, his identity was lost somewhere over 20, 30, 40 years. When it came for the time for the guru to leave the world, everybody was wondering who will he put under his the disciple, the one to lead after him, the person on the throne, so to say, the Uttaradhikari. And there are a lot of scholars and well achieved disciples, and they each one felt that it would be me, or people felt it has to be this one. He is his principal disciple. But the guru said no, not this one, not this one. And then he went to the kitchen and he asked this guy, "What's your name?" And he says, "I don't know. I only know that I am your humble servant. I only know one name, the name of my guru." He said, "This is the guy. This is the right guy. He will take my seat." Because the transformation was very obvious to the guru. All others were ego. The guy who loses his ego completely is a yogi. What is yoga? Mm-hmm. So whether it's through asanas or whether it's through chopping vegetables in the kitchen, it can be achieved. In our destiny, in my destiny, it had to be through the body, because my guru came to me in the form of BKS Iyengar. So I followed his method. If my guru had come to me in another form, I may be chopping vegetables somewhere. I don't know. So yoga is in everything. So asana practice is just one path. That is why there's so many different paths were listed. So Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Laya Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Okay. And then later on, people started calling them different paths. But they were different paths, but the goal is the same. And then people started, like my dad, he said, Raja Yoga is superior, Hatha Yoga is inferior. So you started giving them calibers, and you started quantifying them, and you started, ranking them. And then it became a mess. Actually, it's not the case. So whatever path is right for you, it comes your way, you walk that path. If you have to go by bullock cart, you go by bullock cart. If your path is by the aeroplane, you sit in an aeroplane. But you have to be very clear that the goal has to be very clear. What vehicle you use, what path you use, it doesn't matter. And this is something that I've learned over the years. I didn't know this when I was in my 20s. I didn't know this. Now I understand it. So therefore, I don't look down upon people who follow other paths. There is respect for everyone, each one to their own path. If that is your way, great. We are both brothers on the same path. Just that I may be riding a scooter, a two-wheeler, and you may be, flying in an aeroplane. It's just that. At some point we will meet somewhere.
Such a beautiful message to someone who is in his or her 20s. So one question that I have related to female health, and I heard that your specialty is also in helping women through Iyengar Yoga elevating their health.
Who told you that? I don't know why people think so. It's not as if I have specialized in women's problems really. But there was a time when I used to take ladies' classes because, 2-3 reasons. One is the timing suited me. When my children were small, I didn't teach in the early morning or in the evening, because that was family time, and then I had a job to do. So somewhere in the afternoon or late morning, I would be teaching a class. And that is a time women would come. Men would be mostly, in India at least, housewives, and those who didn't have jobs but who may be self-employed. So women would come, and so those were the lady slots. So since ladies came to me, I had to solve their problems. It was not that I had any intention of solving their problems. So that's how it happened. Two is that it suited me to an extent at that time, because I have married in the Muslim community, and my in-laws are very conservative, and I didn't want them to, not that I live with them, but I didn't want them to feel offended in any way if they heard from somebody Okay, so I then kept myself conservative and decided to teach children and women because it suited me in every way. So that's how I was taking only women's classes for some time. And then I realized that in the general classes, women teachers as well as male teachers did not address women's problems. Gitaji did. Gitaji was very bold and overt and clear. But most people shied from addressing ladies' problems. Women themselves were very shy to go and tell their teachers, especially male teachers.
Mhm.
So since I had all the ladies in my class, they were less shy, and so I could openly address their problems. And even if so, I know that they will not come and tell me about something like incontinence, which is so common in older women, especially in India. If you had 2, 3 children and you've not been taught to exercise, your bladder and uterine muscles, you are fine when you are in your 20s, but when you reach 40s and 50s, that's when your muscles start to show their weakening, and then they don't know what to do. So they're very shy. They don't want to admit that they have a problem. No, it's not something that you are happy to tell people, or so, and you want to push it under the carpet and you say, oh no, nothing, it's because of this, it's because of that. Though they would not tell me that they have a problem, I would generally address it to the whole class. That okay, today you may not have this problem, but tomorrow you may have this problem. So let's learn about it. And then everybody who did have the problem also felt happy that, oh, thank God, she's making us do this. Afterwards, privately, they would come and tell me that, I'm so glad you did this because this is really a problem that I have and I didn't know how to tell you about it. So somehow it happened that, I started addressing, and being a woman, having gone through all the stages of womanhood, having had children, then prenatal problems, postnatal problems, then having gone through older age, menopausal problems, having gone through it myself, I could understand what the women go through. So it was easy for me to be more compassionate to their problems. I must admit that I was not so compassionate before I married, because Guruji never differentiated between his male students and female students.
Mm.
Okay. So if I am there, which my contemporaries were Birju and Jawahar, and then there was also Neeta, we were not treated differently. Okay. So like, okay, you should not do this because you are a woman, or you cannot do this, or don't lift that weight, let him lift it. No, there was no letting in, absolutely, with BKS Iyengar. So we were not taught to make a difference in genders. So I taught like a man, and I expected every student to learn in the same manner. So no female student was taught like a woman, delicate, soft. But when I had my children, I could actually feel the I could feel compassionate for the women who did not have very easy deliveries, who did not have easy labors, who who had problems postnatal. I could feel for them. Earlier, I could not feel for them. I knew what their problems were, but I could not understand them. But when I myself, my body underwent changes, I could feel for them. So, in that sense, I developed more compassion. I very clearly remember this was after my second child. I must have gone back to class. Guruji used to still come and teach those days. It was a Sunday morning. He would be here over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. I went on a Sunday morning and leaving my son must have been just a month and a half old. My first class after delivery. It was somewhere convenient. I think my mother stayed with me and she said, you don't worry, you go, I'll look after the baby. Husband wouldn't have done that. I think mom was there with me. So I went there and I found myself stiff in the groin and stiff in the back and whatever. So I was like, not what I was before. And Guruji saying, what is this? Bend down, stretch more. I said, Guruji, I've just had a baby, only 40 days ago. He says, so what? I have 6 children. So there was no way he would say, oh, yes, poor you, or, like you must take care. I understand. He did understand, but he did not want that to be my weakness. Okay, so he did not want me to make excuses that, oh, because I have a baby, I can't do this, or I'm not so flexible. And then there was no relenting there. But that was a great lesson for me. Oh wow, okay. So there's no need to be slow and soft with yourself. You get going. That was good because I felt very good if I did that. If I had pampered myself, maybe I wouldn't have felt so good. So that was BKS Iyengar. Today we don't do that. Even I don't do that. I can't be harsh on my students because I don't have the fire of BKS Iyengar. I am not BKS Iyengar, so I can't do it. So I am soft with them. Take care. I'm a mother. I'm motherly. So that's how it is. But this is how he was. So whenever I can, I try to address women's problems. And now, I guess with my age and maturity, with less, I'm unabashed. I don't feel embarrassed. If I was younger, maybe I would feel a little embarrassed if there are men to talk about, women's problems in an Indian society. Now I don't feel that. Men should also know. And society has changed. Times have changed. We are all progressive. So I'm fine with it. In the field of yoga, we are human beings. No man, no woman. The man-woman difference is in the physiology. Because of that, we have certain roles to play in society. And maybe because of those roles which we are designed for, our bodies are different. Let's say, like, I have less muscle power than a male of my age. But we know that today women can build as much muscle power as they want with hard work. You see the athletes and, people, boxers and God knows what else, kickboxing, wrestling. Women are doing everything. Okay. So this is only the physical difference, and physical difference because there are always two energies in the universe, the male and the female. This universe will not exist without those two energies. So there is a male energy, there's a female energy, both have to play their roles. But every male also has female energy, every female also has male energy. When it comes to your yoga practices, it's not about female and male energy. It's about the balance between the two energies. Whether you're a man or a woman, the male and the female must balance. At that time, you are neither man nor woman. So the message is the same for everyone. There cannot be a different message for a woman, different message for a man. Message is to be human, to understand that if you have a human life, human existence, whether you believe in rebirth or not, okay, that's axiomatic. It's a belief. And Western, I can understand people in the West can't accept it easily because you're not grown up with this idea that you'll be reborn again. Right? Doesn't matter if that's the case. But if you have a human birth, then it is in the series of evolution a higher birth. We will not doubt that we have certain faculties which a dog doesn't have, even an elephant doesn't have, a snake doesn't have. We have reason, we have a thinking mind, we have buddhi, we have intellect, which is far more evolved than any other creature, biological creature, living creature. So as a human being, I have a duty towards myself that I should evolve in this life. Forget the next life. So Prashantji will very clearly tell us that we have great duties for our future lives and we don't think about that. But I'm saying, okay, as a not a very high thinking person, as a simple, humble person, don't I have duty towards this life and evolution in this life? So if I have taken up yoga, or if you are a yoga student, what is the purpose? The purpose is to evolve. What is evolution? To be a better person. Who is a better person? Somebody who is in greater control of their mind, somebody who is more balanced, more equanimous, not like a seesaw. So the gunas of sattva gun, rajagun, tamogun, if you balance those, your mind, your psyche, your emotions, everything remains well balanced. The male and the female also balanced. That when that balance is struck, that brings evolution. So everyone must work towards that evolution. Every yoga student, whether male or female. Now, how do you do it? You can find various ways of doing it. If you are an Iyengar yoga student, then I would say you have a fantastic, possibility of learning in front of you. So start with the body, bring in the breath, evolve to the mind, bring body, mind, and breath to a state of balance, and then see what happens. It's not something that you decide that this must happen. You have to wait to see what happens. It's fascinating because if you already knew what was going to happen, would you be excited? No. But when you don't know what is going to happen, that's very fascinating. No matter whether you are 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 80 or last day of life, it's still fascinating because you're still waiting to see what's going to happen. So till the last breath, you can still be like a starry-eyed kid. First day at school, you don't know what's going to happen. So life is beautiful then, isn't it? So make life beautiful. Enjoy, be happy. Joy is one of the essential qualities of a yogi. You found it in BKS Iyengar. He was full of joy. That's why everybody pastes all his photographs. Laughing photograph, smiling photograph, big laugh, hearty laugh. Always laughing, happy. So as much as he was strict and fiery like a lion in the class, he was full of joy. And not only when somebody is full of joy, you transmit it to others. Everybody around him is also joyful, including little children. My son could not help going behind him, putting his hands around his neck as if he was his best friend. And I'm thinking, what's he doing? Guruji didn't mind that. Why would that little child, he was probably 4, why would a child want to do that unless he feels the joy from that person? Otherwise, children will run away, from older people. So he exuded that joy, the happiness, and he shared it with everybody. I don't have to share my happiness by giving things to people. The greatest sharing is in being that. If I am happy, that itself is the sharing. Then whoever is within my radius will feel it. You vibrate it. That's the message. Be happy. I'm very happy that somebody as young as you is showing such keen interest to understand not only the subject of yoga, but Guruji and his teaching, the way he taught. So I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Firooza, for your wisdom and for sharing your story. Intention is crucial in every action we take. It is not what we do that matters as much as our intention behind it. An action that is without intention or has a very limited purpose can be mindless and mechanical, and such actions only stagnate the body and the mind. That is why Svadhyaya, the study of self with microscopic awareness and radical honesty, is so important. By regularly checking our intention, re-examining our thoughts and actions, we can truly grow, evolve, and maintain the balance of mind. This was such a beautiful and helpful reminder for me today. Thank you for tuning in. May you find abundant support in your practice through this podcast, and may it be an inspiration for you in your own study and discovery of self. See you in the next episode.